Well, a recent dip in tourism is shaking up the Strip, and it's the casino dealers who are paying the price.
8 News Now reports.
Well, a recent dip in tourism is shaking up the Strip, and this time, it's the casino dealers who are paying the price. The lights still shimmer, the fountains still dance.
If you've been on social media at all recently, you've seen some version of the question, is Las Vegas dead? Here's a few that I found looking online.
But if you walk Vegas Boulevard tonight, something's off. You can feel it before you see it. The crowds, those mammoth, chaotic, neon-fed crowds have thinned into silence. For decades, Vegas sold one dream, that anyone could be somebody for a night. But in 2025, that dream's cracking. Behind champagne smiles, casino execs have started saying the quiet part out loud. Higher prices, stricter doors, fewer seats for the very people who made the Strip legendary. And now, the question every billboard tries to hide: what happens when the City of Luck decides it no longer needs the people who made it lucky. Caesars CEO Tom Reed said it first. They were kicking out the lowest end. People thought he misspoke. He didn't. A year later, MGM doubled down, saying they weren't chasing budget travelers anymore, only quality customers. Translation: the rich. And in Vegas, when you cut out the dreamers, the whole machine starts coughing smoke. Because Vegas was never built for the elite. It was born on $5 blackjack, free drinks, and cheap buffets, the kind of city where a trucker, a teacher, and a tech exec could sit side by side and feel like equals. That was the magic. Now, resort fees, top $50 a night, parking runs 20 more. Even the so-called budget hotels bleed you dry before you see the casino floor. You're literally paying to lose money. If you ever walked the Strip when it was alive, when laughter echoed off glass towers, and every corner smelled like promise, stay with me, and hit subscribe, because what's happening next will break your heart. When Vegas priced out the Riff Raff, it wasn't just losing customers, it was losing its foundation: dealers. Wait for players who never show. Bartenders cut shifts in half. Cab drivers circle empty terminals. The city's energy, the pulse that kept it breathing, is fading. And the irony? It's self-inflicted. Visitor volume is down over 11% this year, 1.5 million fewer tourists by midsummer. The Strip isn't empty by accident, it's empty by design. The house changed the rules, and the players walked away. Vegas execs call it refining the experience. Locals call it betrayal. Because when a waitress at the Flamingo says, "It feels like we lost the middle," she's not talking about the tables, she's talking about the soul. Occupancy rates slid below 80%. Weekdays are ghost towns. Locals say by Tuesday, it's like someone flipped the switch off. The same city that once ran on excess now looks exhausted. And the data backs it up. Gaming revenue fell nearly 4% in May. Slots dropped over 5%. Baccarat, once the darling of high rollers, plunged by 10. But the real story isn't in the losses, it's in where the money went. Outside city limits, smaller towns like Laughlin and Mesquite are booming up 17% and 10% in gaming revenue. The gamblers Vegas pushed away found new homes because those towns still treat them like guests, not liabilities. That's the dark truth. Vegas didn't lose its customers, it sent them away. Meanwhile, online casinos exploded. In July 2025 alone, digital gambling pulled in nearly $2 billion, up more than 20% from last year. The same players who once packed Vegas are now gambling from home, with better odds, no resort fees, and no judgment. Vegas tried to build a velvet rope. Instead, it built its own competition. When the virtual tables are full and the real ones sit empty, you have to ask, did Vegas forget what made it Vegas? Even luxury resorts are feeling the chill. Bellagio, Aria, Wynn, all reporting cooling demand from their elite guests. Because here's the twist the boardrooms never planned for. The rich don't need Vegas. They can play in Monaco or Macau, where exclusivity isn't a marketing trick, it's real. Vegas thought it could buy class. But in chasing wealth, it killed wonder, and wonder was the whole damn point. There's a saying on the Strip, you can't outsmart math. 10,000 rich gamblers will never replace 100,000 dreamers with $10 chips and big hopes. Because those dreamers didn't just spend money, they gave the city life. If you've ever looked down that glowing boulevard and felt like the lights were fading faster than they used to, don't blink. Because that feeling, that's Vegas running out of middle-class magic. But not everyone's ignoring the warning lights. Resorts World made a quiet gamble, dropped resort fees, brought back free parking. And it worked. Rooms filled, occupancy climbed. For a moment, it felt like the old Strip again, alive, messy, human. Convention numbers even rose 10% this May, and the Sphere drew crowds from Tokyo to Berlin. But beneath the glow, weekdays remained dead quiet. Locals call it the two-day city, alive on weekends, asleep by Monday. The professors at UNLV are blunt. Tourism's down 6.5% year to date. And it's not just domestic travelers staying away, it's international ones too. Vegas used to be the symbol of endless second chances. Now it's the case study of what happens when greed forgets gratitude. A visitor who's been coming for 25 years summed it up perfectly. Vegas hasn't lost its spark, but it's losing its warmth. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe the city's not dying, it's just cold. Because arrogance, not access, is what pushed people away. Vegas used to be the great equalizer. A plumber from Phoenix and a lawyer from LA could sit side by side with the same odds, the same laugh, the same drink. That was the deal. That was the dream. Now the city that sold luck is learning that without love, it's just lights and debt. And maybe, just maybe, it's not too late. If Vegas can remember what made it legendary, it might find its pulse again. If not, it'll keep shining, bright on the outside and hollow within. The Strip doesn't need saving. It needs remembering. But here's the twist. The people who built Vegas's dream machine are the ones paying for its hangover. The valets, dealers, dancers, and bartenders who kept the lights alive through the chaos of the pandemic are the first to feel the silence when the tourists stop showing up. One week they're stacking tips like poker chips. The next, they're staring at empty tables, wondering if the magic's gone for good. The city's addiction isn't just to gambling, it's to momentum. Vegas doesn't know how to slow down. The minute the Strip quiets, you can feel the anxiety in the air. Developers start whispering about market adjustments. Casinos quietly freeze hiring, and local politicians start pitching new attractions like desperation, disguised as innovation. It's not confidence, it's survival, dressed up in neon. You can feel that tension walking down the Strip now, the fake Eiffel Tower glowing against a backdrop of half-full hotels. It's still beautiful, but it's nervous. The dealers smile like they're trying to convince themselves it'll be okay. The tourists that are still there move differently too, snapping fewer pictures, spending less. Vegas lives off illusion, and the illusion's been flickering lately. And maybe that's the real story here. The city that taught the world how to fake forever is now learning what happens when forever runs out. Every flashing sign feels a little more desperate. Every billboard screaming, "New show," feels like a cover-up for something deeper. A city built on risk is finally realizing it's the one being gambled with. But here's the thing. Vegas always bets on itself. It always finds a way to rebuild, reinvent, and rebrand. It's done it before, it'll do it again. The only question is how much damage it takes before the next version of Vegas rises from the dust. And that next chapter, that's the one you don't want to miss, so stay with me, because the story's far from over. And maybe that's the point. Nothing here really ends. It just transforms. The story keeps rewriting itself, and if you blink, you'll miss the moment it changes again. So subscribe, and don't look away, not yet.